Yeah, it was good. It was quick. But it was good.
Yeah, whole thing
He
was
was there. And he was there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. I took a photo. I'll show you.
Nice. And those chargers, how long do they take to?
So they have a level 2 and a level 3 there. So the level 3 is real quick. And the level 2 is, I think, average like 6 hours. But you know, part of the discussion with level 2 is like you put it in a place where you can park and then
Electric
go-
vehicle
go hang
charging
out,
station,
go hang
you
out,
like-
or stay
Put some
overnight.
money into the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So the level 3, I think, Neil at DEQ was saying just enough time to go get a milkshake.
And how about for an adapter? So
Good
any
morning.
EV works.
I think the level 3, there more and more cars are figuring out adapters, but the level 2 is pretty universal.
Great.
Okay, Annie, we're ready.
I have myself, Annie Cathy, Bryce Christensen, Carrie Powers, Cindy Farr, Jackson Lee, Jason Emery, Kelly Becker, Kyla Leonards, Melissa Fisher, Violet Plummer, Martin Kitston, MCAT. And it looks like in 206, we have Commissioner Vero and Commissioner Slotnick. We have Brian West, Ann Hughes, Allison Franz, and you'll have to help me with our 2 guests.
Caroline Bean and Andrew Belanis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was there any public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, consent agenda, 2 items. Anything should be pulled out? Discussed separately? What do you think, Josh?
It looks like this is the most of the money for WIC to continue on, and WIC is a great thing. I'm glad that we can continue this relationship with the state and make WIC available to folks in Missoula County.
And how do you feel about the County Weed District Youth and Restoration Program?
A really cool program, a really good thing. So I would move, we pass on this consent agenda. So you guys can-
Second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, action items. Our first one, Jackson Lee.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
The first action item is for a grant award with the state that would be focused on pavement preservation on our shared use pathways in our rural communities. So the intent of the project, pending material costs and labor a year from now when we implement, is to preserve nearly 25% of our total trail mileage. And that's spread through trails throughout 4 communities. So Bonner, Frenchtown, Lolo, and Sealy Lake would all have trails included within this grant project. The funding's through the Montana Trail Stewardship Program, and we expect to do implementation of this project early summer of 2023.
Fantastic.
Super good. I would move that the board approve the contract from Fish Wildlife Parks.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thanks so much, Jackson. Glad this-
Yeah,
Yeah, well done.
I'm on for the second item as well.
Oh, I didn't, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so this is through the Recreational Trails Program. It's another grant award. This one will be focused on the New Meadows Park Trail System. And so the scope of this project would be a half mile of new perimeter trail. And New Meadows Park is at the junction point of Cody Lane and Mullen Road shared use paths. And it's also immediately adjacent to the build area. So these would be gravel surface trails, and we'd also be looking to implement this project in early summer of 2023.
Great work. All right, I would request the board approve another contract with Fish Wildlife Parks.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, thanks so much, Jackson.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay, 2023. Kaylee Becker.
Yes, good morning.
Good
So
morning.
I've got the Land Stewardship Award proclamation for you today. So the Land Stewardship Award is a program that was created by the county commissioners in 2011 to recognize the positive impacts being made by private landowners through their land management practices, benefiting wildlife, rivers, and streams in their community. I also want to mention that this landowner recognition program is also important because it's an opportunity to share these stories about what landowners are doing and these really amazing innovative practices that they are undertaking on their land. And so I'm excited to share that the recipients for this year's award are Barb and Joe Rabel. So they were nominated by the Open Lands Committee member, Helene Michael. And just a few notes about some of the cool work that they're doing on their property. So they own 120 acres of land near Condon that was actually homesteaded by Barb's grandparents, which is pretty cool. They've worked to create a forest management plan for their property that helps guide forest harvest and thinning projects to improve the forest condition while protecting sensitive riparian and wetland habitat. They've also done a really great job of encouraging beavers to use that wetland area on their property, which really helps sustain the complex riparian and wetland habitat. And they worked with Montana Land Alliance to place a conservation easement on their property in 2013. On top of that they've also really engaged with their community and helped education and outreach efforts in the area to help spread the word about good stewardship and some of the work they're doing. So the proclamation before you today is to officially name them as the recipients for this year's award. And once that is done, we will be able to celebrate at the ceremony tomorrow at 2:00 on their property.
So looking forward to it. Martin, are you able to make it up there? Or do you have anyone heading up?
I will check and see. That's pretty cool.
And then just heads up that there's a lot of construction along 83, so.
You'd actually need to leave now.
Yeah.
Good to
Give
know.
yourself
Sadly, I
an
haven't been up
extra-
there yet.
Yeah, an extra hour. And then, yeah, Kaylee, if you want to send Martin the directions,
Yep, happy to.
whatever. And I can't tell, is there anyone else from media on the phone? Or online?
I don't see anyone.
Okay,
We're also gonna have Carrie head up there with you guys
Oh,
tomorrow. to
great.
take some
Okay.
pictures.
okay.
I would request the board act on OLC's recommendation and get this award to these folks.
Second, enthusiastic second. All in, or any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Great,
Cindy
thank you so
Farr.
much.
Yeah, thanks, Kaylee.
Hi, everybody. So what I'm bringing before you is our contract to continue funding one of our infectious disease nurses, the disease intervention specialist, and as well as the congregate living coordinator.
Could you talk about what the congregate living coordinator does?
Yeah, so right now the congregate living coordinator is primarily focused on COVID, but also available to congregate living facilities that might be experiencing any kind of outbreak. As we're moving into flu season, then they will be that person that could be the primary point of contact and really help get them in touch with the right infection control coordinator up at the state to help them figure out what they can do within their facility to reduce the spread of these infections.
So this is like nursing homes, group homes, like the jail, the POV, whatever. Any, they're responsible for all
Yeah,
kinds
for
in the county.
Yep, just primarily being that point person, and then really working with our infectious disease nurses as well as the infection control folks up at the state.
People who manage congregate living centers have an obligation to interact with this person, or is it entirely a voluntary?
No, they actually do have an obligation to interact with this person, and but we generally don't have to like go down that track. They're generally very, most congregate living places, the people that run them are generally reaching out to us and saying, hey, how can you guys help us because we're dealing with this particular type of outbreak.
Great,
Great.
thanks. All right, I would move that we request the board approve the chair to sign the task order.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you.
Okay, Karen Harrison.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for your
Morning.
time. this is a request to get your formal approval to go beyond our policy regarding donated sick time for my HR analyst, Tana Mount. And she didn't mind me sharing this, but she has been out with a very complex and pretty invasive form of cancer since March. She will be ending her employment around September 17th. This gives her about an extra 123 hours on top of the 280 that we allow by policy. And this just helped carry her a little bit through the FMLA process. So just hoping to obtain that approval on record for payroll purposes today.
We're happy to do that. I would move we approve an employee to continue to receive donated sick time past 280.
Second, any
Thank you.
further? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to Tana.
Thank you. She's doing pretty good.
It's hard. Any correspondence? Oh, yeah, we get the wildfire update now. We have Adrian. Ooh, I don't see
I
Adrian.
don't see Adrian on.
Are we in
Are we in
stage two?
That's that question. I think so.
We would, you guys would know if we were.
I think she would be presenting that too.
Okay. Inflation Reduction Act.
Sure.
Great.
You have to request to share your screen.
Oh,
Yep, I sure do. I'm still a new guy, still
Where-
learning, still learning.
We're all still.
oh, no. Andrew, where are you? There we go.
Here, promote Andrew to.
Don't remove them.
Where's the make presenter thing?
I think he can just share his. Yeah. he-
Yeah,
we
sorry,
should
for a
be able
second.
to.
Okay.
He's already listed in the presenters section.
Okay,
so
great.
we should be able to.
There we go.
There we go. Got it.
Let's see. It's my engineering degree hard at work there.
Yeah, so we know there have been questions about the Inflation Reduction Act signed into
yeah.
law yesterday,
exciting.
really exciting. Come with like really good federal news for you all. So we wanted to give you a brief overview of some of the climate provisions in the bill. So just to start off, this gets us about 40% of the way below our 2005 level. So the Paris Agreement asked, we committed to being 50 to 52% below 2005 levels, and this gets us to around 40%. So still work to do, but a huge improvement, like truly generational bill. So we're really excited about it. We talked to you all about building electrification and heat pumps in the past, and talked about applying local rebates or trying to offer some local incentives. And this, from the federal level, puts a huge influx of money into it. So $4.5 billion in direct rebates to consumers. This will be managed through the state energy offices, and still waiting on timing for when that goes into place. We had to get our George Clooney heat pump picture in. It's called the High Efficiency Electric Home Rebate Act, or if you get really excited, HERA. It'll allow about 1 million homes to go electric, and these rebates are for low income and moderate income folks. So for low income people below 80% AMI, it's scaled to cover about the 100% of the cost of any of these technologies. And then for moderate income, 80 to 150% of AMI, it's 50% of the cost. And those numbers are up there. So you can use that for space heating, water heating, a new stove, clothes dryer.
So good.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's some other building electrification as well in the form of tax deductions, and these will go into place much sooner. So starting January 1st, 2023. And sorry, the text is so small. The energy efficient home improvement credit will allow households to deduct 30% of the cost of upgrades to their homes. So that's the technology that we talked about.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's much better. Thank you.
Thanks.
So would this mean not just the thing, but the labor that it takes to
Exactly.
put the thing in?
The labor as well. And so sometimes when people switch to an electric heat pump from a natural gas heating, they need to upgrade their electrical panel. And that can sometimes be this new additional
Sure.
cost of labor and supplies. And this covers those electrical panel upgrades as well. They've really taken a systematic approach to it. And you can do $1,200 per measure per household per year. So pretty expansive. And then for a heat pump, it's $2,000 per heat pump.
30% of the cost of the project.
Yep. Yeah. We also have a new energy efficient home credit for developers, $5,000 for each home they build that qualifies for the Department of Energy's Zero Energy Ready Home Standard. And then there's a commercial building credit as well for businesses that are achieving 25 to 50% reductions in energy use over base code. So really incentivizing from the tax perspective and exciting to see it going into effect so soon. And then,
But
No, go
that
ahead.
commercial one,
Yeah.
would that be solar panels? Or is that just, is that
I-
making a building?
I
more-
think
Just
that one's
electric.
just energy efficient building, but Andrew's going to talk about some of the
Okay.
renewable energy stuff too, which will be exciting. Then they have a whole bunch of provisions specifically for energy efficient and resilient affordable housing. The details on this are still forthcoming, but about $1 billion in grants and loans for retrofit projects to make affordable housing more energy efficient and water efficient. And then they also have greatly increased a program called the Environmental and Climate Justice Block Grants. So $3 billion for disadvantaged communities around emissions, heat, air pollution.
With that one on affordable housing,
Yeah.
does that mean the housing itself has to be in some type of permanently affordable program or?
Like a federal program.
That's
Or-
what we're
Okay.
assuming at this point, but again, it's short on details at
Yeah, I'm
this point.
thinking like, well, we have all these trailers
Mhm.
in Western Montana that are kind of organic, affordable
They're
housing.
naturally
They're not
occurring.
protected, but they're naturally occurring
Yeah.
affordable housing
Mhm.
and really in need of this sort of retrofit, given that.
Yeah,
Trailer
well,
side.
I'm hopeful that in the grant portion of it, that we could make a compelling pitch for things like that. Maybe in the loans, it's more restrictive
Sure.
on what qualifies, but we're not sure yet. And then, yes, some hopefully money to work on our wildfire smoke stuff, work on electrification again, open space, urban heat island effect, through the environmental and climate justice block grants.
So switching to renewable energy a little bit, and again, sorry the text is so small. But the really exciting part about this that a lot of people are getting fired up about is the restoration of the two existing really major tax credits, which is the production tax credit, the PTC, and the investment tax credit, the ITC. And I'm happy to go into details if you guys are interested.
Yeah,
but
well, how does the
essentially,
production tax credit?
so
work?
essentially the difference is the production tax credit, production, right? The operative word is based on the kilowatt hours that you produce. And there's a tax credit value based on how much you produce. So it's tied to the production, which really benefits larger scale projects for the most part. So utility scale, mostly wind historically has used the PTC. And this bill makes solar eligible for the PTC now, the new PTC that they developed, which is huge. The investment tax credit, investment being the operative word, that's based on the actual value that you purchase. So labor, parts, installation, everything like that. And the ITC was phasing down. The PTC was going to expire this year and the ITC was phasing down. They extended them for 2 years and then they created this new clean electricity investment credit, which is a little more technology neutral based on zero GHG generation and storage, which is really exciting. And that's going to be extended for 10 years, which is the longest one of these credits, I think, in a while has been extended. And that gives huge project certainty for developers.
So is this just for private, so like the county couldn't participate this, it's like the
Well,
work at the
so-
fairgrounds or?
We wouldn't get a
We
tax
might.
credit.
No,
Could
we might.
could
So let's put a pin in that because it's on the
Yeah,
next slide,
yeah.
actually.
Oh, okay.
But this is really exciting. I think for these credits and the inclusion of standalone storage. So before this, if you wanted to apply the tax credit to storage, you had to install that system while you were also installing solar or wind. In other words, you had to wrap it into the total cost. That's something else qualified. You had wind, which qualified for the PTC, or solar is a better example. You had rooftop solar that qualified for the ITC. So you could wrap storage into that total cost, but then it makes your, total project cost much higher. Now, the storage qualifies for the ITC by itself. So if you already have solar on your house, you can install storage,
Storage.
excuse me, and get the
use
30%
ITC.
credit.
Okay,
Yeah, which is huge. the standalone credit has been something that I know the industry has been after for a long time. So that's a really big deal. For our purposes, definitely county residents are going to benefit significantly. This is the extension of the PTC is going to improve the economics of the renewable rate option that we're working on, or it should, and it also could benefit installation of rooftop solar or storage if we work with a third-party financer, because again, they're getting a higher credit value than they were before.
So on the renewable rate option, this is more incentive for a utility size company to go into this type of work.
Right. So yeah. Whereas before they were getting a smaller value, or after this year it was going away, now they're going to get a larger value, and that's going to end up filtering into the total cost of the project that we're looking at. And then some of the other exciting provisions, this direct pay for non-tax paying entities. I'm not an economist. This is where I tell you I'm not an economist, but everything I've read so far says this is specifically targeting governments and tax exempt agencies. So we could claim up to 30% on a rooftop solar system is effectively what this is looking at,
So when you say
which is
claim
huge.
that 30%, what would that mean?
So, right now, obviously, we're tax exempt, but the direct pay provision, and again, I'm trying to understand this as best I can. The direct pay provision essentially allows a tax exempt entity to claim that tax credit as if they were paying taxes, and then monetize it and turn it into a cash rebate,
Wow.
Yeah.
which is
Fantastic.
huge.
That's really great.
So it
And
shortens
so-
shortens our payback periods on some of our
Considerably.
programs by 5 to 10 years,
Yeah.
depending on the project.
Which is great. Now, I did read something that say, you still have to look at the whole economic financial model because depreciation and all these other things. But I mean, just off the top, if that takes a payback time from 20 years to, 12 or 13 years,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal for us. I think
Yeah.
that changes
That's
a lot.
exciting.
So that's really exciting. Couple other provisions that they have in there, what's called transferability. So after 2022, taxpayers can actually monetize the tax credits and sell them to a third party. And this again could change the economics for any third party financing that we look at in partnership,
that's a
which is huge.
Big deal.
And then there are also bonus tax credits available for domestic content production, prioritization of energy communities, so brownfield sites, communities where there's fossil fuel employment, and then low income communities as well, up to 20%. So I think those three may apply to different types of projects that we could look at, particularly, rooftop solar.
Mhm.
I'm particularly thinking of the renewable rate option, particularly with the brownfields and the fossil fuel employment communities. If there's a large wind, farm, I mean, maybe in Missoula County, but elsewhere in Montana, those things could all factor in. So there could be
That
bonus
makes your
items. to
mind
be-
spin.
It does, absolutely, yeah. So those are just a few of them. And again, more details are coming out about all this, but it's very exciting. And then for electric vehicles, on the consumer side, there are some new tax credits for purchasing new and used electric vehicles as of next year. They did limit them based on household income. This is really exciting. It should help boost electric vehicle purchasing a little bit. I
Pretty
will say,
generous limit.
Mhm.
It's a super
Yeah.
generous limit. It's not like 80% of AMI or something.
no, I think it's really targeting, middle
Yeah.
and low,
Yeah.
but definitely middle class as well, or middle income. And one nuance is that I did hear one expert talk about the limit of the number of vehicles available, maybe the limiting factor, but still, it's still exciting to see. And then there's going to be funding available for zero emission heavy duty vehicles, which in my mind, I'm thinking garbage trucks, buses, things like that. So there's going to be more information coming out about that as well. But that's also really exciting. I'll pass the mic back to Caroline.
And then just a few resiliency related funding measures as well. There's even less detail on this, but $20 billion for climate smart agricultural practices. From what I've read so far, it's mostly focusing on soil carbon storage and then a conservation easement program. I wish I had more details to offer
Ready
than
to
that.
ask you all kinds of questions. but-
There's like a 2-paragraph press release from USDA secretary and then a couple of articles, but
So soil
Short
carbon,
answer.
like, is this like grass, can grasslands be part of that or?
I
how-
think so. Working directly with farmers on cover cropping and reducing their pesticide use.
So if you grow a cover crop and till it in, is that still carbon storage?
I don't know on the details of what they're gonna count here. Certainly not necessarily my area of expertise.
That'd be interesting.
I wonder if you could call the,
As a sort of permanent grass. Or
Yeah.
range.
range, yeah, or I'm thinking of like, yeah.
Because we grow cover crops, but they get tilled in.
But I'm thinking of, yeah, I was wondering about grasslands.
I think that would count towards it. And the money that they're putting towards it, from what I've read, is direct loans, direct grants, and then technical assistance for people too. So if someone was like, I'd like to do this type of work, but I'm not sure where to start, there would be resources there as well. But trying to reduce any upfront costs as well through grants and loans.
We should call NRCS or.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
am I
we should
thinking?
get-
And
Yeah.
NRCS is gonna be managing the
Of
bulk
course,
of the
yeah.
funds. So yeah, I definitely have a few calls that I wanna make as well to get a better understanding of this, yeah. And then there's 5 billion for forest management, and this seems a lot more on the fuel management side. So grants to landowners to reduce fuels on their properties.
And what about the home ignition zone too?
I thought that too. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like HIZ is a part of this. But I'm not sure how much flexibility there is
Yeah.
here. And a lot of these programs we're looking at like 2024, 2025. And then they also have these neighborhood access and equity grants. Again, huge umbrella for what it could cover, but we might work with our MPO on different transportation projects, public works and stormwater. There's priority around urban heat island and air quality, and then also urban forest and vegetation.
And then just a few other programs to highlight. Again, still waiting on trying to figure out details, but there is 27 billion for a new national clean energy fund, essentially like kind of a national green bank, to support deployment of low carbon technologies. There is a methane emissions fee. Now the flip side to that is the bill does include funding for the oil and gas industry to monitor and reduce emissions. So there's kind of a carrot and a stick there a little bit.
So, Andrew, what would a green bank do? Is like making loans like a bank?
Essentially, yeah, specifically targeted for clean energy development. I think, again, we're still trying to figure out the details, but I think some of it has a lot to do with like R&D in particular. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong on that, but
this is about large scale energy development.
right.
But could it help with our renewable rate option? They're going to be developing something.
I don't know if it's
Financing.
project specific loans. I'm not sure if it's intended to actually support development of a project versus.
It's just the fund.
Yeah, but I would have to look and I'll get back to you about that. Yeah, because obviously that would be very interesting as well. There's $500 million in through the Defense Production Act to accelerate supply of heat pumps, critical minerals processing. I think a lot of things in the bill are trying to focus really on boosting American and domestic manufacturing and production. So critical minerals right now, a lot of people are talking about it, obviously. Just the shortage of production in general, electric vehicles, solar panels, lots of different things. So a lot in there to support that. And of course, that last bullet related to that, 20 billion loans to build clean vehicle manufacturing facilities. I know in particular, there was also money in there for domestic solar manufacturing as well. They're trying to boost that too. So we can have more homegrown solar panels, which is pretty great. So a lot to be excited about.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are indeed excited. And you know, it moved quickly. We were talking in one of our renewable rate option meetings. It just felt like we weren't sure what was going to happen because the tax credits, because it's uncertainty and those make a big difference. And then all of a sudden this bill passed and we're like, this is a whole different ballgame, which is really exciting. So.
And just look at this, it seems like there's lots of opportunities for companies and consumers.
Yes.
A little bit unclear on organizations like ours. Do we apply to the state or can we apply directly?
I think we're still waiting. Likely a lot will be through the state, and a lot of it will be us helping Missoula County residents navigate some of this and connecting them to resources. I mean, we did a lot of education and outreach and helping people navigate
it would
these
be
systems.
I can't help but jump the gun. I'm just sorry.
Go
I'm
for it.
wired that
Yeah.
way. You guys must have great support when I'm. If you all can come back to us at some point with some recommendations. This is what you, given in light of this, this is what you guys should do. And at this point, there's no sideboards on that. Just dream up what's our best thing to do, given this exists.
Well, this is absolutely gonna factor in not to just 100% clean electricity work, but our carbon neutrality work too.
For sure.
You know,
For
now that I'm
Yeah.
getting my feet underneath me, I'm starting to.
I mean, it may very well be
revitalize.
that the best thing we can do with our county resources, with you guys and the little money we have, is help locals, people who live there, access these programs. That could be the best thing. Or it could be, well, we're gonna figure out how to put solar panels at public works or something. Well,
It's probably both.
yeah, whatever you all find out.
Sounds good. Well,
What,
we're very
uh,
excited.
And this isn't really related just to Missoula County, but with the freeing up of oil and gas development in like the Gulf and Alaska, what are the details that you guys know of there?
I know some of the details. I honestly, I was so excited about the renewable
Yeah,
revisions
it's
that
just-
that's where I was focusing on.
No, and that,
That was the cost that had to be paid to get this over the finish line.
It sounds like it. Yeah, from the articles I've read, it sounds like that was kind of the trade-off that got votes and one particular vote.
Yeah,
to
but Joe
go for
Manchin
it.
has lifted his Doc Martin off of the neck of the planet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at staff level, I will say no comment.
Everything we've read has said, you know, don't get distracted by
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Like,
for
let's
sure.
focus on the
Yeah,
bigger
sure.
win. But we can certainly get back to you with some of the
No, I'm
details
just-
on what it is.
These economic provisions around domestic production are fantastic, and that this thing should start to take on a life of its own, not just because of decarbonization, but because people are literally vested. It's my job at the solar plant,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which is, we have never yet been there. And really could be a new day where this thing is propelled not just by values or fear of doom, but
Mhm.
Now we
the same reason why Colstrip gets to continue.
Yeah.
Because people are vested and it's their livelihood.
People are excited about it, absolutely, yeah. And it's just great to see. It's just, we're so
Amazing.
blown back, it's just really exciting.
Yeah. Well, really looking forward to hearing what you guys bring back at some point.
Absolutely.
That sounds really exciting. Yeah, especially that tax credit for tax exempt organizations, that's gonna be cool.
They make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we would have had to go into that agreement that we went into with.
Right.
Investor had that
At the jail.
approval.
Yeah, that could have been
That's
it.
huge.
Wow.
I think for me, that particular tax credit, what's exciting is we've talked a lot, I think, or you all have, I'm new still, but we talked a lot about solar on different facilities
Mhm.
and the economies of scale. And I know we've heard it
Yeah.
said before that larger project was really needed to get larger to get it done. With this tax credit, those smaller projects get
Can happen.
much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, hope, right? I mean, that's the hope, that's the intent, but it makes the economics like way better. And
We have
so
always
it
buildings,
opens up the range of projects that we could look at.
buildings at the fairgrounds and at Public Works.
We
Right.
ran some preliminary numbers on the public works projects, and it takes a 21.1 year payback to 14.
Wow,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
So
And again, that, you know,
it'll be,
I always warn people, those levers, there's the cost of, you know, installed cost and how much your energy is worth and all that. But like,
generally speaking.
generally speaking, that 7-year difference is huge. That's really big.
Yeah, so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll
Absolutely.
follow up with a few things too.
Do you think this will preclude the Northwest Energy credits they're giving now with the solar projects that we got for the librarians and the other? projects?
Like net metering, do you mean?
For the grant, I think the USB.
Oh, the USB grant. It shouldn't. I mean, the USB grant is
could do
independent
both.
of this.
We could
I
do-
mean,
yeah.
you sure could do both.
It's a match.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely, yes. And I don't think there's anything in USB that would preclude you from taking that or getting a grant and taking the tax credit.
So Martin, you're able to get in touch with Caroline and Andrew.
Future's bright.
Yeah, I'll have to break this down over time, but it sounds like a lot of stuff. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we finally have money.
How long do you think it'll take?
Exactly.
To see some of these projects implemented with this new funding? I mean, how long is it gonna take to get the wheels turning?
Well, there's certainly planning involved with the projects themselves. And then for the tax credits, I'm still looking at a couple of the dates. I thought I had a handle on it and then somebody told me something different. So for the extension of the current credits, it's a question in my mind at what level they're extended, whether they go right back up to the full value or not for the next 2 years. But in 2024 is when the new credits kick in. So, you know, it's a matter of just the timing of when we can get the projects going. But the extension of the current credits immediately, really at whatever value, is still a huge deal. So especially if it goes up to the full value, then, we can start harnessing that, capability immediately. At that point, it's just a matter of the project timeline. So,
And as far as the direct to consumer tax credits that start at the beginning of 2023, I mean, we're pretty laser focused on figuring out how to connect people to those resources and make sure that it's as easy to access as possible. So we're going to try and hit the ground running as soon as those tax credits are available.
So good.
we'll move at the speed of coffee.
That's great. That's great. Well, really psyched you guys are doing this.
Thanks for your support.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think we're done. Well, upcoming events and invitations, Harrington's Memorial tomorrow at 10.
Saturday.
Oh, I forgot today is Thursday. Sorry, Saturday.
Saturday at 10 at Ogren Park Field.
Gates open at 9. Bring your bike or walk.
Yeah, not a lot of parking.
Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, you all.
Yeah.